Hello there and welcome to a brief promotion of a new children's book which I have written. Now whether or not this particular video is child appropriate, it doesn't matter, as this story, The Four Friends' Birthday, is scheduled for release on the 23rd of May 2025, which by the time this video is out, or by the time you're watching it, is probably already out, but hey ho. But be sure to get yourself a copy if you're a fan of slice of life content or even media from the 90s or early 2000s. This story is aimed for young audiences, so do keep that in mind. You can pre-order now on Amazon, link provided down below in the description, or you can wait for the story to be in stores or online on other marketplaces. You can even choose between a paperback or Kindle edition. Regardless, I shan't waste any more of your time. This is a brief promotion, so be sure to buy yourself a copy today. Now, onto the video. Hello there and welcome to another edition of Rampage Unveiled. This time we're going to have a look at Extreme 2 Robot Rampage. I hope you enjoy. The final battle was intended to be a super heavyweight battle, but for unknown reasons it was cancelled. The episode contains 35 competing robots, a number only beaten by the Grudge Matches episode from Series 2, which also showcased robots from other weight classes. This episode marks the final appearance of Adam Clark in the show, although he would be working behind the scenes in the following series. Growler is depicted with a flamethrower fart, which ultimately did not get much use and was removed prior to the next series. The Broadsword team were the only team in the middleweight championship of Extreme 2 not to appear in any other series. Mark 1.5 is one of a few robots to name a robot part sequentially. Though this is Mark 1.5's only appearance, the team would appear in the Chinese robot combat show King of Bots during the featherweight championship in the UK, fighting with Orpheus. Typhoon is one of just two robots to compete in both series of Extreme and be undefeated in both, the other being Bulldog Breed, which we talked about last episode. Its involvement in the Typhoon twins allowed Typhoon Thunder to be the only robot to compete in two different weight classes in the same series. As well as the heavyweight 259, Adam Clark also conceptualized a featherweight version of 259 but never completed the project. During the Extreme 2 Antweight Championship, Pete Collar wore a t-shirt reading "Have you seen my pants?" to tie into Pants' name. Militant and Combatant are the only Antweights still competing to this very day. Adam Clark, who actually created an Antweight in 1999 and even suggested the idea of an Antweight competition for Series 3, was in fact the judge for this Antweight championship. Broadsword attempted to qualify for Series 6 with a heavyweight version of the machine. In the qualifiers, it fought Exterminator, Destructible, and an unknown bludgeoner that supposedly looked like Invertebrate. The battle results were unknown, though Exterminator certainly qualified, unlike the others. This 259's drive motors were taken from Twister, the failed to qualify Adam Clark machine from Series 4. Doom 2 was the final weaponless robot to appear on Robowars, as Micromute, T-Rex and Chimera all used momentum to provide a form of offense, although they are all still weaponless, technically. Both of Doom's battles involved a robot from Team Typhoon and the lightweight version of Mammoth. Had the clusterbot rule for heavyweights applied for the lower weight classes, then Doom 2 would have progressed the middleweight final, as one of the Typhoon twins went down the pit before Doom 2 was counted out. Doom and Mammoth are two of 5 robots to appear in both series of Extreme and not win a battle in either series. The others are Fluffy, Something, and Velociraptor. Mammoth is one of few robots to regain mobility following a complete 10 count by Refbot, being turned upright by the floor flipper long after it had been inverted. Minimalistic and Antigeddon are the only two robots to not appear in the Antweight World Series. Gianto was originally meant to be a wedge robot with pink fur, however it broke down before the match was replaced with an Antweight Sumo Bot kit. Like all the other featherweight champions, ARG did not return to Robowars to defend its title. Team Cyclone were the only entrants in their 7-way featherweight battle who did not compete in another series of Robowars. Neoteric is one of 2 walkers to compete in a featherweight tournament in Robowars, the other being the Series 7 competitor, Mammoth. Before Series 8, Gladiator was the only robot from Team Mad to win a battle in the televised show, as it qualified for the Extreme 2 featherweight final. Anti-B fought the Extreme 1 Antweight champion, Combatant, in every battle it competed in during both series of Robowars Extreme. All 3 versions of Anti-B used Lego pieces in their construction. Evo 1's antenna, and Evo 2 and Freeze wheels. Ironically, since Armageddon means the destruction or ending of something, Antigeddon ended up being destroyed in its own battle. A later version of Chroma and Hades would appear in Series 10 later on. Loa was the only Extreme 2 Antweight finalist which did not make its debut in the previous series Antweight Melee. Pants was the only robot from Team Panda to win a Robot Wars battle. Of the 3 Antweights to compete in both Antweight Championship events, Pants was the only one to not win the title. Ellie's little pink box's motors were so heavy they had to be pushed in by shunt. Basically, the fight was a one-sided match from the start, meaning that it was arguably staged. A lightweight called Rough Stuff qualified for the championship, but its opponent withdrew, resulting in Rough Stuff not appearing. Another robot that withdrew was a small rambot called Whirlwind, which was a featherweight purple tornado-looking robot. Ellie's little pink bots' team attempted to qualify for Series 6 with a heavyweight pink robot. In fact, during the pit segment, you can actually see it underneath a cloak. And that is it for today. Extreme 2 Robot Rampage is a fun episode. It's one of my favourite episodes of Extreme 2 personally. One of the reasons why is because, of course, you just have all the itty-bitty robots here and there, different weight classes just battling each other out. And I think that's fun. I like seeing, non-heavyweight robots battle each other. It's nice to give them a bit of a chance. And Antweights in particular, I love Antweights. I've always loved Antweights. I love the Antweight Melee in Extreme 1. I've seen the Antweight World Series. I even own the Antweight World Series wiki, in fact. And so I just absolutely adore, the Antweights. And of course, the Antweight Melee here is a lot of fun. It's still a lot of fun, even if it is cut down because, unfortunately, Extreme 2's Robot Rampage is a bit like the grudge matches in the way where you have like loads of robots and loads of competitions, but they end up cropping down a lot of the fights. So you don't see the full battles. You don't see everything that's shown, which sucks in my opinion, because I really love seeing like the full fights. I like seeing how they progress, and just giving it a little highlight here and there, it's just, I don't like it. I don't like highlights personally. I'd rather see the full matches, and certainly they did so with some of the matches for the most part. I think featherweights and outweights were the only two that got cropped down. And it is interesting to know that the lightweight championship was going to be much bigger, and there was going to be a super heavyweight championship. Obviously, those never came to be. It would have been interesting to see more super heavyweights in Robot Wars in general. But alas, Series 2 is the only time we ever see the super heavyweights, and even then, we barely even saw them because of highlights. But for the most part, even with the highlights, it's not as bad as Series 2, where the highlights are literally just like one frame of a battle, and they say, oh yeah, this robot won the whole weight class championship, middleweight or whatever. Yeah, here you go. It at least shows a lot more of the fights. It gives you a general perspective of what happens. I do appreciate that a lot more. And of course, it is much longer, so that you do get to see more battles as a result. The featherweights, I love how chaotic the featherweight battles become. They are just insane. Every time you see the featherweights in action, it's just absolute anarchy. And I love that about Robot Wars. The featherweight battles are always just a blast. Even the Extreme 1 featherweight battle is just hilarious in its own right. So, you got that. I think there is another problem with this particular episode, and that is the middleweight championship. I think it's a middleweight championship. A lot of people hate this championship. They hate the final in particular because Typhoon basically cheated. Let's be perfectly honest. Typhoon basically bullied the other opponents, and then they said in the post-match interview, we were just pretending, we were going to attack each other, but we broke down mysteriously. And it's like bullshit. It's absolute fucking bullshit. Like, you weren't going to destroy your own robots because you just weren't. They're all part of your own team, and I feel like this particular episode is the reason why a lot of people hate the Typhoon robots. Like, a lot of people fucking hate Typhoon. They hate Typhoon too. They hate the team, and this episode is probably the episode that caused that reasoning. Aside from, of course, the Grand Final Series 7 as well. Let's be perfectly blunt about it. But overall, I think this is still a great episode. I think the battles are fantastic. Seeing different weight classes is fun. Antweights, I love them. And featherweights, I also absolutely adore. There's very little to complain about. Typhoons, bullying the other robots in the melee final, the middleweight final meant. That does suck, and I'm not really a fan of highlights, but at least the highlights do show a lot more this time. Alrighty then, let's have a look at what we're going to get next time around. So we're on to Series 9 next time, and it's Heat E, probably the best heat of Series 9 in my opinion, and really the only heat that I can actually watch and bear the whole way through rather than getting bored of it midway through and not wanting to watch any more of it, which is a good thing. Anyways, well, I'll see you next time around, and hopefully it'll be a good one.